Even while I was on the 9 to 5 Destiny 2 grind, Ready or Not was always a fun hobby for me and a few of my friends. Of course, we learned quickly it was a different kind of difficulty, so I wanted to take some time to rank the various base game missions into a short and relatively simple tier list to hopefully give all the new console players a chance to practice on easier missions, and also when to be ready for hell without spoiling too terribly much. However, there will be some details I can't help but give away, so in case you were very intent on being fresh and learning nothing ahead of playing the game for yourself, I wouldn't blame you for clicking off of this video to avoid spoilers. So let's begin with some of the easiest missions I've dubbed as starters, or in basic terms, C tier. As a disclaimer, this is all from the perspective of playing solo or in a relatively small team like a duo or trio. I'm sure having a full team may make some of these missions a lot easier, but you might not always have a full squad. In terms of experience, my friends and I usually ran missions till we ended with all officers alive, all suspects neutralized, all civvies rescued, and all soft objectives done before moving on to the next one, so we spent a fair amount of time in every mission, just not S tier at this point, and we didn't do that for some just because of principles. The first mission you are offered, and like many would expect, one of the easiest you will come across in your efforts as a Los Suenos SWAT officer. However, it's among the easiest because it's the most simple. A gas station robbery gone wrong, you're dealing with a few meth addicts trying to get money to fuel the addiction. Fairly simple weapons pointed at you, and zero ballistic protection means almost any weapon or ammo type will be viable. Plus a relatively small amount of both hostiles and civilians in or around the building make this a perfect place to figure out some basics in a live fire scenario. Objective-wise, it is self-explained needing to find a lost girl and a few staff while dealing with the bad guys. The second mission you face, but don't worry, it gets more out of order soon. A 3-story apartment complex complete with a main approach that leaves you fairly open to all floors above. Any suspects will open up from any floor, and it's common there are a lot of shots just trying to move into the building. An alternate staircase can allow access to any floor while going through an apartment that needs clearing. Speaking of which, there are a ton of doors in this building, but only a handful are apartments you can actually enter. Like most in this tier, another case of simple weapons and no armor, but you may find a few automatics in close quarters. Simple objectives too, but once you learn more about who you need to take alive, you might not want to take him in unharmed. The mission does also have a chance for the bad guys to take hostages, so you may need to learn how to pace your shots just in case there is a civvy in the way. Like previous entries in C tier, unarmored and slightly worse weapons due to the reasons why you are there. Regardless of the back alley arms deal, you are entering a 3-story house with plenty of rooms and square footage. Just 2 civilians on scene being the parents of the Tran boys, hostiles being the 3 brothers that go into the dirty business of illegal conversions, and a few of their customers. In terms of training, it is a good place to learn not only close quarters work, but also how to deal with awkward approaches, being that the second floor stairs are visible and vulnerable from almost all the second floor, and a 3rd floor attic that is cluttered and also very awkward to enter. Pretty easy just to take the non-lethal route from the start though, as practicing non-lethal options can be very beneficial in the later days of Ready or Not. This is where missions start getting less simple, either from the bad guys running good gear, the building you're entering being messy or trashed, or some sort of wild card that you typically wouldn't expect. The basis of this mission is an exceptionally dark topic, being has to do with places of education being made less than safe, which is why the ratio of civilians to bad guys is quite off balance. There are a lot more civvies in this mission against just a few bad guys. Bad guys that will end up taking out a few of the civvies you need to save, so you need to pick up the pace more than what would be considered safe in reality, which is a problem given the distance needed to cover and how many locked doors you may encounter. That is the extent of complications though. Lots of square footage, a lot of civilians on site, and some fairly well-equipped bad guys. There is another threat, but I will leave that for you to discover on your own. Similar to previous entries, this house is big, but very, very nasty. There are no civilians on the property and just a few very bad guys. I'd refer to the real term and some of the nasty stuff on the property, but I think that would be a problem with YouTube, so I'm not going to. One of the biggest issues of this mission is just the amount of doors on site, because there are fatal consequences to opening some doors without precautions. A handful of missions will have tripwire rigged doors, but the most are here by far. This mission could be over very quickly with success or a fail, either from taking a round as you approach the house, or finding all suspects on one floor. Either way, there are a lot of ways this mission is a wild card, and that's before meeting Gerard the Bushman. Not a terribly complicated mission awaits here, a fairly dilapidated building in an area reminiscent of Skid Row. Some bad guys that know they are bad guys looking to take shots at anything that looks like police, relatively close quarters inside with an open rooftop to be cleared. However, there isn't much I can say about this mission. Pretty even ratio of civvies versus bad guys, but there's still plenty of both inside and outside the building on occasions. There is someone you are tasked with taking alive though, so a little bit of patience is generally recommended. A few different houses filled with illegal substance labs, and everything from the cooks to the dealers and the customers are present. Highly recommend having night vision available as nightfall has come and the houses are all lacking in some decent lighting. Not to mention the results of substance abuse being a shoddily dug tunnel connecting different buildings altogether. Shoddy is the word of the day as there are a lot of changes to the houses purely for the business being conducted there. There is a horror element though, as there are some suspects who would not only hide from you, but would be bold enough to blitz you with a blade. Would not blame anyone for needing a few tries on this one, as the layouts and pure amount of people on site mean that even with a perfect run, there's still a lot of objectives to clear. I didn't mean to put the two missions with tunnels right next to each other, but that is just how it goes sometimes. The start of this mission is relatively normal, a few old barns and a small house with a few bad guys and civvies scattered about. Usually you will have all civilians on this mission sorted out at the very start, but there are plenty more suspects to go, as this property is a cartel smuggling route with old mining tunnels that lead you to old ruins and an underground river system that even has a cryptid somewhere in it. You may encounter cartel with rifles, but every mission in this list so far all sport unarmored enemies, so chosen firepower is still to your preference. The biggest issue you will face is layout, as all the tunnels have interconnected rooms and doors that make clearing suspects a bit of a chore. Oftentimes you will find them alone, or in twos, with most of them congregated towards the end of the tunnels. Nothing too terrible once you unlock this mission down the line, unless you're claustrophobic, which you may want to stay up top if that's the case. This last one was one I was not sure if I would put it under B tier or A tier, but the mission being inherently simple has it pushing more towards B tier. This mission is one of the most basic you can find, as it's just neutralizing all suspects while rescuing all civilians in the building. The building in question though is a data center, with plenty of offices and open rooms cluttered with servers. Your opposition is the on-site security that are paranoid after a few robberies, where the robbers faked being police to get inside. They are unarmored, but still are fairly well armed with some sporty machine guns and sidearms. This building having upper floor catwalks and some second floor offices means you may take rounds from floors above. I know I said it once before, but the biggest issue you will have is dealing with the layout on this building. Massive square footage, several doors and small rooms, plus multi-level rooftops that need to be cleared, and will take some learning, but otherwise a simple mission. An oddly personalized set of apartments that can be a real pain in the ass. Laid out with a circular ring and a large gathering space in the center means that if you're out in the halls, you're likely to take rounds from any door that is opened or closed sometimes. Asymmetrical rooms with several doors interconnecting them that all have randomly scattered frags rigged to tripwires. But in such small amounts, and unless you're hardwired to be looking for them, it's likely you'll forget they're there a few times. That's all before discussing the suspects on site. It is fair to say these guys came to party. A fair few armored suspects, not to mention a select few with military-grade belt-fed automatics. Most of the rest having automatics but smaller calibers and mag sizes. Plus, with how random suspects can be arranged, you'll be taken by surprise a fair number of times while learning this mission. Objectives will keep you very busy as there are a mix of evidences scattered about, plenty of civilians on site between the residents and workers, with a few VIP civvies to look out for. But in a perfect world, all civilians are to be rescued anyways. The main holdup you'll find here is mostly between numbers and square footage. A large property with lots of small rooms that can have any number of suspects in close proximity. Even had like half a dozen in one room once. In the main part of the house, there are dark basement tunnels that almost require night vision flat out. Greenhouses, scattered gardens, a very open courtyard, and a forested area that leads to a church with tunnels that look a little bit out of Doom. This one's not a terribly difficult one, but like I said, it comes down to numbers and distance to cover. A few HVT targets needed alive, and a soft objective or two means the A tier missions, this one's not so bad, but it's still a little bit up there. This one is simply difficult for other reasons, keyword here being visibility. There are a lot of full-size windows and doors with not very bullet-resistant glass. meaning shots will ring out from anywhere inside if you don't spot the suspects first, and they will likely spot you first. Aside from that, there is a warehouse and service department that are fairly messy, and of course, parking lots filled with cars, being that this is a dealership. Also meaning odd spots you can be spotted through and of course shot at through. Your opposition being more cartel bad guys means more guys with small arms and likely no body armor, or even shirts in some cases. Means they won't be hard to take down, but they can still dump the mag and give you problems. Also, this is mostly at night with very low lighting, so you will be pretty much having night vision on almost the entire time. One of those locations that's just a rough time right off the bat. A port with all the shipping containers at night and in the rain. Lots of ground to cover in some very open areas with very long sightlines. This map is one of the few that you can get away with using a 4x scope and not suffering as long as you bring an IR laser or laser sight and know how to aim while canted. Telling you the difference between suspects and civvies can sometimes be difficult, as a lot of them would look like port workers in high-vis clothing, but there is an easy tell. The bad guys speak Russian. Yeah, this is one of the first times you deal with Russian black market smugglers. Aside from opening lots of shipping containers that you will need to search through to find the bad guy stuffs, you will then have to enter a large warehouse and search through more shipping containers and even find a bad guy fort made from the containers. I won't say much more for the sake of keeping something secret for the first time, but this is the last of the missions from the base game, so it's sort of meant to be the big finale. As we reach S tier, this is some of the most difficult and most infamous missions that you will come across. Multiple tries is likely. Not expected, but very likely. This mission is one of those that everyone remembers and at some point struggled with, unless you're just a mega chad. After a shooting happens at a local mail facility, it comes out that a corrupt federal agent was working with some cartel bad guys to move some bad stuff smuggled through the mail, and there are quite a few bad guys. Even a few bad egg civvies that you need to secure for being complicit. The who is not the issue you will face though, it is the where. A big facility that you will be shot at from many different directions and likely not see where the shots came from. Few high-rise platforms, a second-floor office, the whole open back lot, small side offices, and the big room with all the active conveyor belts that just never run out of boxes to move. A maze-like arrangement of belts that you will need to be on the lookout in 360 degrees lest you get caught off guard. There's no good way to say it, this one's rough, and it may only get worse from here.
I will fucking murder everyone!
Yeah, you knew this one was coming. Possibly the most well-known and most hated mission in Ready or Not. Its difficulty comes from a different source than others, as it's your own restraint and how long it lasts. Once you learn of the lore regarding this mission, you will want to bring a wood chipper. Then there's the house, as you are raiding what could be called an LA McMansion. 3 floors and a disconnected basement with a very open floor plan. You will be taken by surprise a few times because, like rich people do, there are nothing but windows. So any of the private security by the pool can get some shots on you while inside, and if you approach from outside, they can shoot at you from inside, because rich people and fucking windows. An HVT you need to take alive when you'd want to use the wood chipper on them, and some of the worst civilians you will have to deal with. Teenagers. Now, you know how cops will tell people to not go for anything in their pockets and will shoot you for going for something in case it's a weapon? Yeah, these civvies will go for phones and try to take pictures of you before they even start to surrender sometimes. Don't feel bad for hitting a civvy if they do that. It's their own fault. After almost missing it in my script, this mission is a weird one because not only is the settings like a 1950 Art Deco hotel, but it pretty much has every potential wildcard on the list. There are tripwire rigged doors, granted they're only to flashbangs, there's plenty of enemies, multiple floors, and there's fully automatic weapons pointed at you, not to mention areas that you can be taken by surprise and some areas you would benefit from having night vision. And the fact that you can be shot at from outside while people are inside. There are just so many ways this mission can go wrong all at once and not be anyone's fault in particular, just that it went so wrong, so bad. You will not be able to hear anything, and that can't be helped. After some very, very bad people attacked a busy nightclub and left a lot of destruction in their wake, you and your team are tasked with eliminating the hostiles. There's loud music playing in almost every room in this club, bright neon lights, and lots of people to save, and way more sleeping. It's a very gnarly scene. Not to mention some of the craftiest and well-armed hostiles you can face. almost all AKs and RPD light machine guns, and some wearable explosives. You know what I'm talking about. Plus, tricky enemies, because there are some unarmed that will pick up dropped weapons if they are unsecured. Plus, this club was designed like a casino, and it's made to confuse people and get them turned around. More maze-like layouts and various dance floors and social spaces, and even some large bathrooms and back rooms that need clearing. There's a lot of work to be done, but given the mission circumstances, there's very few objectives, mostly saving people and taking down the bad guys. There is an HVT you're tasked with arresting for this one, but wouldn't blame you at all for forgetting about that. But the final mission on this list may actually be worse somehow. So that title may have given away the big issue here. The same group of bad guys from the last mission are seeking to release the HVT we arrested last mission. Another high casualty mission being that the bad guys assaulted a hospital and expected someone to come in after them, so they try to pull a fake out and wear doctor's clothes and nurse's scrubs to attempt to deceive you. However, a lot of times they give it away by saying something that exposes them as a bad guy. The weapons and hostile you will face are very similar to Neon Tomb, even the boomy parts. I know I have said this a lot, but the building you need to clear is the big holdup. There are enemies to fill the spaces, but 3 floors and several departments to clear, and no simple way around. Like if you approach from the garage, you take stairs to the 3rd floor, but then you need to take the 3rd floor stairs to go down to the 2nd floor, and then the sky bridge that connects to the other building, then you need to find ways down from there. It gets very convoluted, and that is before there are bad guys shooting at you. Like last mission though, the objectives are simple. Take down the bad guys, rescue civilians, arrest that HVT again, and the slight issue of bombs you need to disable. Personally, this is the most difficult of the main non-DLC missions, but of course, that is just me. Like I said at the start, this was on the basis of a lethal loadout and making sure all objectives are completed. Not S ranks, but next to the best you can do while not taking everyone alive. This is also on the basis of a small team with no more than 2 or 3 people tackling these missions for the first time. Full honesty though, after I started making this video, I tried the new flash launcher with some of my buddies in a dedicated flash launcher loadout, with 2 or 3 people bringing more than a dozen shots of flash ammo, and it was some of the easiest and fastest missions I've ever done, while also going non-lethal. Either way, this was my tier list of difficulty for the base game missions of Ready or Not. Regardless of how difficult a mission may be, in the end, repetition and dedication to learning the missions will make them all a lot easier for the future, especially if you got some good gamers on your team. Speaking of which, as we near 20,000 characters in this script, I wanted to mention that sometime soon I will be working on developing an actual Discord server. It will be a chill hangout spot for anyone in my community that would want to hang out or even look to playing some games with me or my friends when we are playing with viewers on stream. Not sure how soon, as my ADHD may take hold, so bear with me on that. That being said, this is the end of the video. If you made it this far, I appreciate you watching all the way to the end, and thank you very much for your time. If you have any funny stories about your shenanigans while playing Ready or Not, I'd love to hear them in the comments down below. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed. With that, my name is the Mad Scorpion, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.